Alex stared out at the wreckage, his heart pounding in his chest. It had been hours, no, maybe days since the crash. Couldn't remember. The world around him was a blur, covered in ash and dust, and the once beautiful alien landscape now felt like a nightmare. The ship had crashed hard, tearing through the atmosphere of this strange planet like a falling star. The metal was twisted and broken, and the fires from the wreckage still burned, sending thick black smoke into the sky. He was just 12. How did it all go wrong so fast? The training had never prepared him for something like this. They were supposed to be on a routine trip, simple mission for the space cadets, a chance to explore new worlds. But now, Alex found himself stranded on a hostile alien world with no way to contact Earth. The ship's communication system was destroyed in the crash. The rest of the crew adults, trained officers, had either died in the impact or were too injured to help. The only people left were him and his small group of cadet friends, Mia, Ben, and Sam. "Alex, are you okay?" Mia's voice was shaky, but she was trying to stay calm. She limped over to him, her face smudged with dirt and blood from the crash. I don't know, Alex said, looking around at the wreckage. The planet's sky was a sickly orange, and the atmosphere smelled like burnt metal and something else. ... Something that made Alex's stomach turn. "Do you think anyone's coming?" "For us?" Ben asked, his voice barely above a whisper. He was crouched next to a piece of wreckage, trying to get the damaged engines to start, but it was no use. Nothing worked. The systems were fried. "I don't know," Alex muttered. "Communication systems down, and the engines are gone. We're on our own." They had no way of knowing if anyone knew they were here. Their ship had been carrying sensitive information for the Federation. And now, Alex feared, they might just be forgotten. "We need to figure out something," Sam said, his voice firm. He was the oldest of the group, only a year older than Alex, but he always seemed to take charge in times like this. "Can't just sit here and wait. We'll starve before anyone finds us." Alex nodded, his mind racing. What could they do? They were stuck in the middle of an alien wasteland with no supplies, no way to call for help, and nothing but the wreckage of the ship surrounding them. But then his eyes fell on something strange. A part of the ship was still intact mostly. At least then it looked different from the rest of the wreckage. It was dark and metallic, with strange symbols etched into its surface. Alex felt a strange pull toward it. "Alex." "What are you looking at?" Mia asked, noticing the direction of his gaze. "I don't know," Alex replied, "but I think I saw something over there, past the wreckage." The others followed his gaze, and Mia squinted her eyes. "Is that part of the ship?" "No, it's something else," Alex said, standing up and dusting himself off. He took a step toward the strange object, the others following closely behind. They walked slowly, cautiously. The shipwreck had scattered debris all over the place, and the ground beneath their feet was uneven and rocky. But as they drew closer, Alex's excitement grew. The strange object wasn't just part of the wreckage. It was an old hidden craft. Partially buried under a pile of metal and rubble, it looked like it had been here for a long time, decades, maybe longer. There was no telling what kind of ship it was, but Alex had learned enough about alien technology from his training to know this was no ordinary craft. The materials were like nothing he had ever seen before, and the symbols on the surface were completely unfamiliar. "Do you think it's a ship?" Ben asked, his voice full of awe. "I don't know. But it's the only thing that might get us out of here," Alex said, his eyes lighting up. "We should check it out." They approached the strange craft carefully, stepping over broken pieces of debris. Alex reached out and touched the surface of the ship, and to his surprise, the metal felt warm under his fingers. It wasn't like anything he had ever felt before. Smooth and soft, almost alive. There was a faint hum coming from it, and the symbols began to glow, just a little. "This is insane," Mia whispered. "Do you think it still works?" "I don't know," Alex said again, but this time with more certainty. "But it's our best shot. If we can figure out how to start it, we might be able to get home." Ben stepped up beside Alex, glancing at the ship with a mix of excitement and fear. "You really think we can fix it?" I mean, this looks like alien tech. How are we supposed to know what to do? We'll have to figure it out, Alex said. We've got no choice. As the kids examined the craft, they found something even stranger. There was a hatch half open, and inside was a large control panel, unlike anything they had seen before. The controls were entirely alien, with buttons and levers that made no sense. But the kids had spent enough time and training to know how to work basic systems, and Alex was starting to feel something clicking in his brain. He knew he could do it. He had to do it. Okay, Alex said, let's try something. I've got a plan. Sam, help me with the panels. Mia, Ben, keep watch. I think we can get this thing running. The group got to work, each of them doing their part. They didn't have a lot of tools, but they made do with what they had. Alex kept his eyes on the control panel, pulling at wires, pressing buttons, and trying different combinations. He felt like he was on the edge of something huge. If he could just get this ship started, they might be able to escape the planet before they became just another forgotten crash in the middle of a war zone. The silence around the crash site was deafening. Alex stood in front of the strange alien ship, his mind buzzing with both excitement and uncertainty. The craft was unlike anything he had ever seen. Its sleek surface shimmered, almost as if it were alive. The mysterious symbols etched along its sides pulsed faintly with a soft glow. Alex reached out again, this time pressing his hand against the warm metal. Alex, Mia said, her voice barely above a whisper. Are you sure we should be messing with this thing? It's not like anything we've ever seen. I know, Alex replied, his voice steady, but we don't have a choice. We're stuck here, and this might be our only way out. Mia nodded, but she still looked unsure. The others, Ben and Sam, were busy searching the wreckage, trying to salvage anything useful. But Alex couldn't stop staring at the alien ship. It seemed to be calling to him, urging him to find out its secrets. He had always been curious about alien technology. His studies back home had barely scratched the surface. Now it was right in front of him. He knelt beside the ship, inspecting the hatch. It was half open, and there was a strange energy coming. From inside, Alex carefully reached out and touched the edges of the hatch. The moment his fingers made contact, the door slid open slowly, revealing a dark, empty interior. This is it, Alex whispered. Let's see if we can get inside. With a look of determination on his face, Alex led the way. The others followed, their footsteps heavy on the rocky ground. As they stepped inside the ship, the air was cool, almost refreshing, and smelled faintly of something metallic. The interior was strange. Everything was smooth and seamless, with no visible screws or bolts. The walls seemed to shift in color as Alex moved closer to the control panel at the center of the room. It looks like the control panel is still intact, Sam said, his eyes scanning the console. But there's no way we're going to understand any of this. Alex wasn't so sure. He had spent years studying alien technology. Though he didn't know exactly how the ship worked, he felt a deep sense of connection to it. The buttons on the control panel were unlike anything he had seen before, but there were similarities to the Federation technology he had worked with in the past. Maybe he could figure it out. Ben, Mia, help me look for anything familiar, Alex said. Let's see if we can find some sort of power source. The group split up, scouring the interior for anything that might help. Alex's heart raced as he examined the strange controls. There was a large central console with holographic buttons floating above it, glowing faintly in different colors. Some of the buttons had symbols that reminded him of his Federation training. Though they were far more advanced, suddenly a low hum filled the air. The lights in the ship flickered, and the control panel came to life. Alex stepped back, startled. Did you do that? Mia asked, her eyes wide. No, Alex replied, his heart pounding. It's the ship. It's reacting to us. The ship seemed to come alive, as if it had been waiting for something to activate it. The humming grew louder, and the symbols on the control panel shifted, rearranging themselves into patterns that Alex didn't recognize. But something about the patterns made sense to him. His fingers hovered over the glowing buttons, almost instinctively knowing which ones to press. Without thinking, Alex pushed one of the buttons. The ship vibrated beneath their feet, and a low rumble echoed through the walls. A holographic map appeared in front of him, showing the planet's surface and the surrounding space. There were several red dots scattered across the map indicating the location of something important. "This is it," Alex said, his voice filled with wonder. "We can track their ships. The war zone is right above us." "What?" Ben asked. "Stepping closer to get a better look at the map, you mean? We're in the middle of a battle?" Alex nodded grimly. "Looks like it. And if we don't get out of here soon, we're going to be caught in the crossfire." Mia's face turned pale. "How do you even know how to read this? It's not like anything we've seen before." Alex didn't have an answer. He just knew it was like the ship was teaching him. He could feel the knowledge flooding his mind. As he interacted with the controls, it was overwhelming, but he couldn't stop now. Had to keep going. The ship's systems seemed to be responding to his commands, like it recognized that he was the one to unlock its secrets. He pressed another button, and the ship's lights flared brightly. The map zoomed in on a particular area, revealing a massive fleet of alien ships to factions at war. "Locked in a deadly struggle above the planet, we have to hurry," Alex said, feeling the weight of the situation press down on him. "The longer we wait, the more dangerous it's going to get." "We can't just leave the planet without any supplies," Sam pointed out. "We're not even sure the ship will fly." "I think it will," Alex said confidently. "We need to find a way to power it up." The others seemed hesitant, but followed Alex's lead. They began searching the ship's interior for anything that could be used to power the craft. After what felt like hours, they discovered a hidden compartment near the back of the ship. Inside was a strange, glowing core, unlike anything Alex had ever seen. It was pulsing with energy, and it felt warm to the touch. This is it," Alex said, almost in awe. "This is the ship's power source. If we can connect it to the control systems, we might be able to take off." "We can't waste any more time," Sam urged, glancing nervously at the map. Where the red dots were moving closer, Alex nodded, feeling the pressure building. If they didn't get the ship powered up now, they might never get another chance. He connected the core to the control panel, and the ship hummed with power. "It's working," Alex said, a grin spreading across his face. "We're going home." But as the ship powered up, a warning flashed on the screen. "Warning! Enemy ships approaching. The war zone was closing in." The ship hummed with power as Alex looked at the control panel, his hands trembling with excitement. They had managed to power up the alien craft. It was no longer a broken shell, but something alive. The soft glow of the console bathed the room in an eerie light. Outside, the alien landscape stretched endlessly in every direction. The sounds of the battle above were muffled, but Alex could feel the tension growing. "We've got to go now," Sam said, his voice tense. "Those ships are getting closer. We don't have much time." Alex nodded, his eyes focused on the map. The red dots representing the two warring factions were moving closer to the crash site. In just a matter of hours, the entire area would be a war zone, and they'd be trapped in the middle of it. "We're ready," Alex said, his voice steady. "I think I can get this thing to fly." He reached for the flight controls, unsure of exactly how they worked, but feeling confident in the strange connection he had with the ship. He pressed a series of buttons, just as he had seen in the map's projection, and the ship slowly began to lift off the ground. The vibrations beneath their feet made the air feel thick, but the ship was moving, rising steadily into the sky. For a moment, there was a sense of hope. Maybe, just maybe, they would make it out of here. Alex looked at the others. Ben, Mia, and Sam were strapped into the seats, watching him carefully. "You're doing it?" Mia exclaimed, her voice full of, "We're actually flying," Ben added, barely able to contain his excitement. "We're getting out of here." But Alex's joy was short-lived. As the ship gained altitude, he noticed something on the control panel, a flashing red light and an alert. A warning appeared on the screen. "Enemy ships detected. Gauge defense." "Systems." "What's that?" Mia asked, her voice rising with panic. "It's a defense system," Alex said, trying to stay calm. "The ship's telling us we're about to be attacked." Before Alex could react, a loud boom shook the ship. The craft jolted, and the control panel blinked wildly as warning lights flashed. They were under attack. I knew it was too easy. Sam muttered, gripping his seat. I knew they wouldn't just let us go. The ship shuddered again as another explosion rocked the hull. Alex could see through the front viewport 2 alien warships, massive and menacing, were approaching. Fast. Their weapons fired again, sending another shockwave through the air. Alex gritted his teeth, trying to focus. Alex, what do we do? Mia shouted, fear in her eyes. We need to fight back, Alex said, his voice calm despite the situation. I'm going to try to activate the ship's weapons. He quickly began pressing buttons, trying to remember the defense systems he had seen in the ship's holographic map. The ship responded to his commands, and suddenly, a series of glowing cannons appeared on the outside of the craft. I think I did it, Alex said, surprised by how quickly the ship was responding to his commands. Here we go. With a deep breath, Alex aimed the ship's weapons at the approaching enemy vessels. He fired. A beam of bright energy shot from the ship's cannons, hitting one of the alien warships dead center. The explosion was deafening, but it didn't stop there. The ship's defense systems continued to fire one after another as Alex fought to keep the craft steady. Take that, Ben yelled as another blast hit the enemy ship. We're fighting back. Alex's heart raced as the ship's weapons tore through the enemy vessel. For a moment, it seemed like they might actually have a chance to escape. But then, the second warship opened fire, its cannons blasting powerful energy beams straight at them. Brace for impact, Lex shouted. The ship rocked violently as the blast hit, throwing them all forward in their seats. Alex struggled to maintain control of the craft as the ship's hull groaned under the pressure. Another blast came, this one hitting the ship's left wing. The craft swerved, throwing the cadets from their seats. Alex's vision blurred as the ship spun out of control. He slammed his hand down on the control panel, trying to regain control. The ship's systems beeped wildly, warning him of critical damage. They were losing altitude fast. We're going down, Sam yelled, panic in his voice. No, Alex gritted through his teeth. We're not. Alex slammed the button too. Engage the ship's emergency thrusters. The ship jolted again, but this time they began to climb. Slowly, painfully, the ship leveled out. The flashing warnings on the control panel slowed, and Alex breathed a sigh of relief. Double quotes. Read. Dot. We're okay, he whispered, more to himself than anyone else. But just as they seemed to have gained control, the second warship fired again, this time sending a deadly energy beam straight at them. The ship rocked once more, but this time, the hit was devastating. The ship's engines sputtered, and for a brief moment, everything went dark. Alex's heart raced. They had to make a decision, and fast. We need to get out of here, he shouted. Now, quickly tapped into the ship's control systems again, pushing all his concentration into flying. The ship's thrusters roared to life, and Alex guided the craft toward the open space above, away from the battle. The enemy warships followed, relentless in their pursuit. With the engines groaning, Alex pushed the ship to its limits, weaving through the endless sky, avoiding blasts, and trying to outmaneuver the enemy. He could feel his muscles tense with every twist and turn, but he couldn't let up. The lives of everyone aboard depended on him. We're almost there, Mia shouted, pointing toward the distant horizon. We can make it! Just as it seemed they might escape, a powerful blast rocked the ship, knocking them off course again. But Alex wasn't about to let go. He gritted his teeth, holding onto the controls with every ounce of strength he had left. The enemy ships were closing in fast, and Alex knew they couldn't keep this up for much longer. The battle was far from over. Alex's hands gripped the ship's controls as the warships continued to chase them through the endless skies. His heart raced with every twist and turn, trying to keep the ship moving while avoiding enemy fire. They had to make it. They couldn't go back. He had to fix the ship completely. The battle was far from over, but their survival depended on one thinking out of the war zone and repairing the craft enough to fly it home. We can't keep this up. Mia shouted, her voice tense. They're getting closer. I know, Alex replied, glancing at the control panel. The damage was worse than he thought. The ship's hull was badly dented from the enemy fire, and one of the engines was barely functioning. If they didn't fix it soon, they wouldn't be able to escape the war zone at all. Ben, Sam, help me out, Alex called. We need to. Get to the engine room. Ben and Sam nodded, already unstrapping themselves from their seats. Mia stayed behind, keeping an eye on the ship's sensors and enemy movements. The ship's emergency lights flickered as Alex led the way down a narrow hallway toward the engine compartment. Are you sure we can fix this? Sam asked, his voice filled with doubt. It looks like we're barely hanging on as it is. Don't know, Alex admitted, but we have no choice. If we don't fix the engines, we'll never get out of here. The engine room was a mess. Wires were hanging loose, sparks flew from exposed circuits, and the smell of burning metal filled the air. Alex pulled out a toolkit he had found in the wreckage earlier, hoping it would be enough to patch things up. I'm going to try to bypass the power core, Alex said, his voice steady despite the chaos around him. If I can reroute the energy flow, we might be able to get the engines back online. Ben watched Alex carefully, his eyes darting between the ship's control panel and the engine components. Be careful, he warned. If you mess with the power core too much, we might make it worse. Alex didn't reply. Couldn't afford to waste time. He pulled on wires, twisted metal parts, and connected components as best as he could. The ship hummed with energy as the engine sputtered back to life, but only for a moment. Sparks flew, and the ship jerked violently as if it had a mind of its own. Alex, what's happening? Mia's voice crackled over the comms, sounding frantic. The enemy ships are almost on top of us. Alex's heart skipped a beat. They had no more time. Just give me a second, Alex shouted back. He grabbed a wrench and twisted it into place. For a brief moment, everything went quiet. The hum of the ship's engine settled, and Alex breathed a sigh of relief. They were back online, but the enemy was still closing in. Alex, Ben yelled, pointing at the control panel. There. Going to fire again? Alex didn't hesitate. He sprinted back to the cockpit, where Mia and Sam were already working furiously at the controls. They're too close, Sam said, his voice strained. We can't outrun them. We don't have to outrun them, Alex replied, his mind racing. He turned to the control panel and began entering a series of commands. We just need to fight back. He slammed his hand on a glowing red button. The ship responded immediately. A surge of energy coursed through the craft, and the exterior cannons hummed to life once again. The ship's weapon systems powered up, ready to fire. This is it, Alex said, his voice determined. We fight our way out. Mia glanced at Alex, then at the control panel. Are you sure you know how to use these weapons? Not entirely, Alex admitted, but I know enough. Without another word, Alex aimed the ship's weapons at the closest enemy warship. He squeezed the trigger, and a powerful beam of energy shot out, hitting the enemy ship square in the center. The explosion was massive, sending a shockwave through the air. The ship rocked from the impact, but they had done it. Direct hit. Ben cheered, his face lighting up with excitement, but their victory was short-lived. The second enemy warship returned fire, sending a barrage of energy beams in their direction. Alex gritted his teeth, pulling the ship into a sharp dive to avoid the incoming fire. The ship groaned under the pressure as the hull shook violently. We can't take much more of this, Mia shouted. I know, Alex replied, struggling to regain control. We have to get to the other side of the planet where it's less crowded. We'll lose them in the clouds. With every ounce of strength he had left, Alex pushed the ship to its limits, weaving and dodging between blasts. The warship behind them was relentless, firing again and again, but Alex refused to let them catch up. His heart was pounding in his chest as he pushed the controls even harder. The sky above them darkened as they entered a thick layer of clouds. Alex's visibility dropped to almost nothing, and the ship's alarms went off, warning of low fuel. An imminent system failure. We need to get out of here now, Sam yelled, gripping his seat. I'm trying, Alex snapped, his hands moving faster than ever. He flipped a switch to engage the ship's cloaking device, something he hadn't tested yet. The ship's lights dimmed, and for a moment, everything seemed to freeze. The enemy ship's sensors were unable to detect them. Are we invisible? Mia asked, her voice low with disbelief. I hope so, Alex said, his eyes glued to the control panel. He held his breath, waiting for the moment when they would be safe. Just stay calm. We've got this. For what felt like an eternity. The ship drifted through the clouds, the sounds of enemy fire fading into the distance. Alex watched the enemy ships move away, unaware that their target had disappeared. They were safe at least for now, but Alex knew this was only the beginning. They had to keep moving, keep fighting. The war zone was still ahead, and the only way out was through it. The ship coasted silently through the dense clouds, hiding them from the two enemy warships that were still searching for them. The cold air outside felt heavy, the tension palpable inside the ship. Alex's hands were still gripping the controls, his fingers tight from the effort of keeping the ship steady. His heart was pounding, not from fear, but from adrenaline. They were escaping, but the war zone was still ahead. They couldn't afford to make another mistake. Are we safe? Asked, his voice shaky. I think so, Alex replied, keeping his eyes on the control panel. The cloaking device was still active, keeping them hidden from the enemy ships. But we need to keep moving. Can't stay here too long. Mia turned around from her station, her face pale but determined. How are the systems? Are we going to make it? Alex paused, his eyes scanning the control panels. They had repaired as much as they could, but the ship was still damaged. Power systems were unstable, and the shields were only running at half capacity. They had just enough fuel to get out of the immediate danger zone. But after that, they would be on their own. The systems are holding up for now, Alex said. But we don't have much time. Cloaking device won't last forever. We can get out of the atmosphere and into deep space. We'll be able to lose them. We've got to make it, Alex, Sam said, his voice tight with urgency. We've been through too much to just let it end here. I know, Alex said, his voice steady. We're not giving up now. He pushed the ship's thrusters forward, guiding them out of the cloud cover and toward the open sky. The ship shuddered as it accelerated, but Alex kept it steady. The clouds parted, revealing the vast expanse of the alien world below them. The warships were still visible, searching for their target, unaware that the children had slipped away. But as Alex pushed the ship higher, something strange happened. A warning light flashed on the control panel, followed by an alarm. What's happening? Mia shouted. Ship's sensors are detecting a massive energy surge ahead, Alex said, his heart skipping a beat. We're heading straight for something big. Quickly adjusted their course, trying to steer the ship away from whatever lay ahead. But it was too late. A massive gravitational field appeared on the radar, pulling them in. We're caught in its pull, Alex shouted. Can't break free. The ship shook violently as it was pulled toward the source of the gravitational field. Alex tried everything to fight against it, but the ship's engines were too damaged and the gravitational pull was too strong. Hold on, Alex shouted as the ship accelerated toward the center of the field. The walls of the cockpit rattled as the ship sped faster and faster. He could see the pull growing stronger, the edges of the control panel flickering, the alarms blaring in his ears. What is that? Sam asked, his voice filled with fear. I don't know, Alex shouted back, his mind racing. We've got to get out of here. In the distance, they could see the source of the gravitational field, a massive space station. Unlike anything they had ever seen before. It was enormous, a dark fortress floating in the void. The station was surrounded by a swarm of smaller ships, alien vessels that moved in tight formations. It looked like a military base, but something about it didn't feel right. I think it's a trap, Ben yelled. They're luring us in. We've got to break free, Alex said, his voice full of determination. He slammed his hand onto the control panel, activating the emergency thrusters. For a moment, the ship fought against the pull, but it wasn't enough. The gravitational field was too powerful. They were getting closer to the station, and Alex could see the enemy ships moving toward them, ready to engage. This is it, Mia whispered. We're going to crash into it. No, Alex shouted. We're not crashing. We're going to fight. He gritted his teeth, using every ounce of strength to keep control of the ship. He glanced at the radar and saw that the station was surrounded by a dense field of asteroids. The only way to survive was to fly through the asteroid field and use it as cover. It was a risky move, but it was their only chance. Everyone braced for impact. Alex shouted. Without another word, he pulled the ship into a sharp turn, heading straight for the asteroid field. The ship jolted as it collided with the first asteroid, but Alex kept his focus, weaving between the massive rocks, dodging blasts from the enemy warships. The sound of the ship's hull scraping against the rocks sent chills down Alex's spine, but he refused to slow down. "Keep your eyes on the radar," he shouted, his voice steady despite the chaos. "We need to stay ahead of them, Sam." And Ben were helping guide the ship, pointing out obstacles as Alex kept the ship moving at full speed. The asteroid field was dense, and the enemy ships were having a hard time keeping up. Alex's heart raced with each dodge, each narrow escape. He could hear the enemy ships firing, but their blasts were missing. The asteroids provided just enough cover to stay ahead, but the station was still in the distance, and Alex knew they couldn't keep up this pace forever. They had to find a way to escape the gravitational pull and make it out of the war zone. "We can't stay in here forever," Mia said, her voice tense. "We've got to get out of the field before we're trapped." Alex nodded, his eyes focused on the radar. He was looking for an opening, a way out of the asteroid field. And then he saw a small gap between two massive asteroids, just wide enough for the ship to slip through. "Here," Alex shouted, pointing toward the gap. "We're going through there." With a deep breath, Alex guided the ship toward the opening. The walls of the asteroid field seemed to close in around them as they sped through the narrow gap. The ship scraped against the sides of the rocks, but Alex held his breath, pushing the ship through with all the force he had, and then they were out. The gravitational field's pull weakened, and Alex breathed a sigh of relief as the station and enemy ships grew distant. It made it through the asteroid field, and the war zone was far behind them. "We did it," Sam whispered, disbelief in his voice. But Alex didn't stop. He knew this wasn't over. They still had to make it back home. The ship's engines hummed steadily as Alex guided them through the cold expanse of space. The war zone was behind them, and the asteroid field had been left far behind. But even as the enemy ships faded into the distance, Alex knew their journey wasn't over. They had barely escaped with their lives, and they were still far from Earth. "We're free," Mia said quietly, her voice filled with a mixture of relief and disbelief. Alex didn't respond right away. His eyes were fixed on the control panel, his fingers moving over the buttons as he navigated the ship. They had made it out of the war zone, but they were far from home and the ship was still damaged. The engines were running smoothly for now, but he knew it wouldn't last forever. They needed to get back to Earth and fast. "How long until we're back?" Sam asked, his voice sounding tired. Alex glanced at the navigational display. The journey back to Earth would take weeks, even at full speed. But there was no time to waste. The ship had to hold up long enough for them to make it back. "About 3 weeks, maybe more," Alex said, his voice steady. "If the ship holds together," Ben slumped in his seat, clearly exhausted. 3 weeks.
I thought we were going to be home in a few hours." "I know," Alex said, his voice soft.
"But firm. But we'll make it. We just have to stay focused." The crew was quiet for a moment, each of them processing what had just happened. They had faced down an alien war zone, fought their way through a deadly asteroid field, repaired an alien ship hull before their 13th birthday. But now, as the ship cruised through deep space, there was nothing but silence. Was gone, but the weight of their survival settled in their hearts. "We should get some rest," Alex said after a while, breaking the silence. "We're going to need all our energy for the journey." They all nodded, too tired to argue. Sam and Ben both left the cockpit, heading toward the sleeping quarters in the back of the ship. Mia stayed behind, sitting quietly in her seat.
Alex
could see her watching him, but he didn't meet her gaze. He couldn't afford to let his guard down yet, not until they were safely home. After a few moments, Mia spoke. "Alex, are you okay?" Alex sighed, running a hand through his hair. "I'm fine. Just ... thinking." Mia raised an eyebrow. "Thinking about what?" "Everything," Alex said quietly. "What we've been through, what we've lost." Mia was silent for a moment, then spoke softly. We haven't lost everything. We're still here. We're alive. Alex nodded, but the weight of their situation hung heavy on his shoulders. He knew they were lucky to be alive, but it didn't change the fact that they had been left for dead on an alien planet, forced to fight their way out of a war zone, and now they were stranded in deep space, millions of miles from home. Their families, their lives, everything they knew, felt far away. I don't know if we can ever go back to the way things were, Alex said, his voice distant. I don't even know if Earth will remember us. Mia's voice was steady. As she replied, We're not alone. We have each other. We have this ship. We can make it. Alex looked at her then, and for the first time in weeks, he felt a small sense of hope. He wasn't alone. None of them were. Together they had survived the impossible, and together they would find their way home. Thanks, Mia, Alex said quietly. I needed to hear that. Mia smiled softly. Anytime. With a deep breath, Alex focused on the controls again. The journey was far from over, but they had made it this far. They weren't giving up. Not now. As the days passed, the journey seemed to stretch on endlessly. The ship's supplies were limited, but Alex and the others made do with what they had. They took turns keeping watch, fixing what they could, and looking for ways to improve the ship's systems. Alex felt like he was constantly working on something, whether it was the damaged engines or the failing communication systems. The work helped keep his mind busy, but it didn't stop the quiet feeling of dread that hung over them all. They were alone in the vastness of space, with no one to turn to, and no way of knowing if anyone on Earth even knew they were alive. But despite the challenges, there was something else growing inside Alex. A sense of determination. They'd been through so much, but they weren't done yet. The alien ship had brought them this far, and he wasn't about to let it fail them now. A few days later, as they neared the outer edges of Earth's solar system, the ship's communication system suddenly came to life. A crackling voice came through the speakers, garbled but recognizable. This is Earth's Federation command. If you can hear this, respond. Over. Alex's heart skipped a beat, quickly adjusted the ship's comm system, trying to clear up the signal. This is Alex Turner. We're alive. We're coming home. There was a pause, and then the voice responded, clearer now. Alex Turner, is that you? We've been searching for you. Where are you? What's your status? We're still alive? We've got an alien ship, and we're heading back to Earth. We need help, Alex said, his voice shaking with relief. Understood, Alex. We'll be waiting for you. Stay in communication. We'll guide you in. Tears filled Alex's eyes. As he leaned back in his seat, they had made it. It survived the impossible, and now they were going home. He turned to Mia, Sam, and Ben, who were all standing at the back of the ship watching him. We're going home, Alex said, his voice full of emotion. We're going home, Mia echoed, a smile spreading across her face. They had done it. Together, they had made it through the darkest of times, and now they were heading back to the world they had once known. The journey wasn't over, but the hardest part was behind them, and for the first time in what felt like forever, Alex allowed himself to hope.